Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass with JayBee, Millie, and Smash.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Christmas special of Smash or Pass with JayBee.
Happy holidays.
Me, Millie. We're of course joined by Smash.
Hello.
And Rihanna.
Hi.
Great, so like we say, this is the kind of festive special, and with that in mind, we are going to be taking a look at the Scooby Anniversary Special, Where Are You Now? So, this is again, common theme as always, something that JayBee and I hadn't really seen before.
Well, no, it was very kind of tricky up until recently to see this in the UK. I believe in America it debuted on the CW and maybe a few other places, but we legit, and I don't know if this is like against the law or whatever, but we had to find it just on YouTube. Someone had uploaded the full episode, and that's how we saw it.
Yeah, I think, did you have trouble trying to find it as well, Rihanna?
I think I might have linked it, but ultimately, yeah.
Yeah, I watched it through YouTube with the link that you guys sent me.
Thank you for finding that, JayBee. That was very helpful. And Smash, what about you? Did you, like you say, was this easier in America to just kind of find and view?
Yep, just downloaded the CW app and hit play.
Screw you, America.
Oh God, that's
Thank
not very
you, thank
festive,
you.
JayBee. What are you doing? I had my warning. Look at you.
America gets all the good Scooby stuff.
They do, like, just like stuff that
We're
you can
too
buy as
privileged.
well. Like, Smash can go shopping and be like, oh, here's 3 Scooby things I found.
Yeah, like, so this is from Walmart, this is from Target, this is from Hot Topic, and it's like, I found nothing in Morrison's apart from used underwear. I can't do anything.
What? Where's this coming from, JayBee? Festive special.
Used underwear.
Festive special, JayBee.
Yeah, well, we're merry on the coffee, that's it, we're festive. We're festive.
Okay. You sit down and have your coffee and we'll make a start, okay? So,
I should just show up over there with a bag full of Scooby stuff.
Oh my god, if you did that, I don't know, I don't want to say anything weird actually. What am I gonna, okay, I would be your, no, what am I gonna say? I would be your
best friend.
loyal servant. That sounds even weirder. I would, let's just say I would owe you a few favors.
Oh, golly.
Not
Okay,
like that,
so...
Right. What is this? This is special. I gave you a warning before this, and here's me. I guess I'm just happy.
Oh, gosh.
Happy
I
to be done
apologise
with
to
the
Rihanna.
last
She's not
week.
had to speak to you when you've had too much coffee before. Now you've had a lot of coffee, we're suffering.
I'm an energy drink before.
Yeah, JayBee said like energy drinks, coffees, cokes, and now he's
Gosh,
a bit
yeah,
like...
I'm hyperactive.
Yeah.
No, but to be
Too
honest,
much
no,
energy.
that's actually serious, because I wasn't allowed to drink Coca-Cola as a kid because I'd be hyperactive.
You do we've not started talking about the special yet, don't
Yeah,
you?
but this is the Christmas thing. Like it's like a friendly conversation. So if someone's lonely at Christmas or they hate their family, because let's be honest, family can be a bit difficult. With their friends, they're just sat down having a nice Christmas. With
Having a
us.
coffee with JayBee.
Yeah, cheers everyone. Thank you.
Okay, so getting into the special, it starts off as a live action thing. The Mystery Machine's approaching the gates, and I think as we were starting to talk but hit record before we got too far into this conversation, I got very strong Haunted Hollywood vibes from this, Smash. It sounded like you agreed with that, right?
Yes.
Like, I really liked it. Just seeing that, I was in the vibe of Scooby. I was quite happy. And I like that they've got a mystery machine there.
Oh yeah. Now, does anyone know? And like, you can feel free. We can have like a free for all. But does anyone know if that was a reused mystery machine from maybe the kind of Kate Melton, Nick Pilatus movies? Was it made for the purpose of this special, or was it maybe a fan's custom-made job? Like, where did that come from? Because it's awesome.
Part of me wants to say, because I think it's the same one. You know where Sarah Michelle Gellar posted that picture up with her in front of her? I think it's the same one they use on the tours.
That's actually
But I might be completely wrong.
good shout though, because it does look like that, doesn't it? And it's from one of the, what was it, Universal? Where was this filmed then?
The Warner Brothers Studios, I think.
Whereabouts is that? Millie, do you have into there?
No, I don't have my phone with me, but so it's okay. You're just trying to track Gala's locations over the last few months.
That's not even
It's in LA.
LA.
JayBee's there, just like,
Yeah, it's in
I saw she was
California.
there. That's fine.
Why are you making me seem weird? I mean, look. I'm just gonna say.
Okay, I'm not giving you a chance to say
Let's say
anything.
nothing. Let's say nothing because
Let's
you know
move
what I
on.
mean. It's festive, right? We're festive. It's wholesome, festive goodness.
So I guess
Ollie,
I'm gonna
Ollie.
direct this question perhaps at Rihanna first. What did you think to this like adaptation of the Mystery Machine? Did you think it looked quite cool?
I loved it. Like
Yeah.
as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is happening!" And the thing is, what in like that moment when we heard Velma say that, why are we having a reunion? We've been together for the past 52 years. That I was like, that's such a classic Velma, like so upfront, straight to the point, and it just gave me so many Scooby vibes, and I was like, I can't wait.
It's amazing. I do feel like just seeing the Mystery Machine driving in did set the scene so well. Smash, did you like this adaptation of the Mystery Machine?
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but like at first I could tell that it was the one from Universal because I've been to Universal Studios before and saw that Mystery Machine. So I was like, oh, interesting. So what happened to the live action ones that they used? Did they get repainted to different cars or something?
Oh, that would
Or are
break
they
my
just like
heart.
locked up? But I'll admit I was a little disappointed because I was really hoping they'd use the ones from the live action movies, but at least they had one and they didn't like animate a mystery machine that drove in or something. So I mean, it's not my favorite, but I still think it's cool that they have one to use like that.
Okay, and JayBee, like when you said that, then Smash, like maybe they repainted it. JayBee's face dropped. Like
I'm so sorry.
he's like I want to become a millionaire in the future and go on some like bidding site to get my hands on the original, and then you're like, oh yeah, then maybe paint it over it.
But who does that? Like, why can we not respect the Mystery Machine, right? Like, I have watched a full like half an hour video on YouTube about how much love and care was brought back into restoring the original Ecto-1 into like pristine condition, and then to find out that there's even a distinct possibility that this iconic Mystery Machine has just been painted over and turned into like a FedEx van. It hurts me. It really, really hurts me.
Oh, I'm sorry that it hurts you.
Because I would like, and I
I'm
think
sorry.
in the future, all of our combined empires, we could buy a Mystery Machine. And I think we'll just go on road trips, right? We'll do that. And I want to make an eggplant burger on the back of it. I just want to do everything in that car.
We will take it on a cruise, take it to Australia.
Yeah, I mean, mysteries seem to take it all over the world, so I don't see why we couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
We'd literally be like the mystery gang. Like, I think, yeah, we've got the right numbers. So
We do. We
With the
just need
group.
to find a dog.
Wait, do we actually have... So who would be... Well, obviously, Millie... Wait, whoa. Come on.
What's going on?
Whoa. Let's take a breather. Let's stop what we're
But
doing.
yeah, you're right. Then it must survive perfectly.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, it does.
Woo.
Then I can just get my boy and he can act like a dog.
Yay! Perfect.
I mean, that's what I call a good time, eh? Nothing like a bit of... Oh, right, okay.
Please stop.
So...
Okay, so we're progressing on with this. So I think the next kind of question
I've got a question.
for everybody
I've got a
is
question.
how they felt about the mixed media style. You know, to have
Aw.
the live action and the kind of cartoon contrast. Smash, maybe I'll throw this question at you first.
Hey.
It's kind of hard because I get that it was just made for TV. But we've seen stuff like Space Jam and Looney Tunes back in action, or there was this Cartoon Network series called, the movie was reanimated and then the series was Out of Jimmy's Head. And, where they mixed this live action format with the cartoons and stuff. And, so at first I was excited. I was like, ooh, this will be interesting. We haven't totally seen this with Scooby Doo much, but I just feel like I'm a Debbie Downer with this. I didn't love their designs. I just felt like they were kind of lazy animation overall, like very stiff and didn't have very much depth to them. But like at the same time, I can understand what they were doing with it. Like I didn't expect them to be these like 3D models of the characters or anything, or have like all these shadows following them or something. But just something about the designs, I thought they would have at least used the direct to video movies animation and then just kind of put them, into the scenery of the live action stuff. But it seems like they did a complete not really a redesign, but animated it differently than we've seen in Guess Who, we've seen in What's New or Mystery Incorporated or the movies. And I just didn't I mean, in a way I can see why, they're trying to make them different from the other formats of media that Scooby has been in. But to me, these versions of the characters just looked a little lazy animated.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna hop on the negativity train a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. So I'm hoping that that maybe like either JayBee or Rihanna can balance us out a little bit here. But I personally found, and this sounds awful, so I am sorry. You know how like on some editing software you can get that really bad background remover thing?
Yeah.
It looks like somebody watched very early Scooby Doo and hit background remover and then dropped it in, to me personally.
That's what I use for
Yep.
thumbnails.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of how
You're
I
doing great.
felt. Maybe a little bit controversial. JayBee, how did you feel about mixed media?
So I traditionally love mixed media. I get a lot of hate for this when I say it, not like online because I've never really made it public, but just in like I'll say social circles. I'm talking about ages ago, back when I had a social circle. But I'm not too into Space Jam, I've got to be honest. I've watched half of it and I couldn't get into it. But I
Me too.
love Looney Tunes back in action. Like, that's just perfect. Brendan Fraser's so funny, and there's a sequence where there's in and out of painting. So I love mixed media. And legit, up there with Sarah Michelle Gellar, Have a Lot Clearer in that movie changed my entire life. So that is one of my special films. And I guess based on that, I actually really did enjoy the fact that this was it was the classic Mystery Machine gang as far as they could make it. I think they could have either done one of two things. One, I kind of agree with Smash where they could have just done the current animation in that kind of mixed media format. Or instead of trying to modernize the classic look, if it's a reunion of that initial series, they should have just made it the classic animation, faults, flaws, and all. I kind of don't like how they tried to update it, but not. It was a bit of a half measure. But right off the kind of bat, I didn't hate that it was mixed media at all. In fact, it did remind me of Back in Action, which is why I actually enjoyed quite a bit of it at the start.
And Rihanna, what about you? How did you feel about the mixed media with the kind of animated and live action styles?
Okay, so I'm really mixed, like I have mixed feelings about it because I'm kind of like JayBee. I do like mixed media. I mean, one of my favorite movies is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and I was kind of expecting something similar to like that, but when I saw it, I was like, I feel like they just, on the whole thing, to be honest, I felt like they went on the cheap. Like they didn't invest as much as they did for other shows and stuff. But at the same time, I feel like animation-wise, they potentially had the animators do it how they did in the like first series where it was all drawn by hand without, having all of the technology to make the lines all smooth and stuff. So I feel like they potentially did that, which is why some of the lines were like rickety and stuff. But as the episode like went on, I did enjoy the mixed media in it and I enjoyed the animation, but at first it was like, oh, why?
Hey, I think so far we've had some really nice balanced views. So I think it's certainly refreshing to have JayBee and Rihanna kind of balancing out some of perhaps the strong negative feelings that I'm having towards some of this. So it's good. It is a really good balance. So we start to like head into some video clips from different people.
Oh
And
gosh.
one of the first people we see is Seth Green. And I think it's fair to say, for JayBee especially, you were quite excited about this because the live action movies were definitely up there with some of your favourite Scooby content.
I mean, Seth Green in general is just, I think they're just a legend, to be honest. Like, I think they've kind of pioneered a bit of the stuff with Robot Chicken, which is the closest we've got so far to a original live action cast reunion. They're, of course, Oz in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like, and they're currently the voice actor for Howard the Dog, and obviously Patrick in that second Monsters Unleashed movie. So it was so great just to see them there, kind of that little acknowledgement, and I think it was a good guest to have. I guess if I'm just thinking more forward, I just wish that they were in it a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, are there any interviews that stood out to either of you at the start?
I will say I was excited for Seth Green as well because if I haven't made it clear on the internet already, Scooby Doo 2 is my favorite Scooby Doo movie. And just to see him come back, I mean, I would have liked to see one of the, like, Freddie Prinze Jr. or Sarah or Linda Cardellini or someone. But, like, you know, they just the fact that they got someone from that movie was really fun. But I do agree it was very short-lived. It was like, hi, I'm still alive. I worked on Scooby. I was like, oh, okay, bye.
Rihanna, what about you? Did you enjoy the kind of clips at the start where they were getting like just a little snippet from different people that had been in Harry Potter, like Harry Potter in Scooby Doo? Like, I've been awake since 5 a.m. Please give me a break. Oh gosh, why am I laughing now? Okay. Oh, I'm just gonna start that again. So Rihanna, how did you feel about the like little interviews at the start, like little snippets from people that have been in Scooby Doo, like Seth Green?
I'm leaving that in.
It's been a long day.
Been a very long day.
Week.
I really enjoyed them. Like, I'm a huge fan of Seth Green, and the one thing is that I'm not gonna lie, throughout like the whole episode and everything, especially the little interviews. For me, I'm also a WWE fan, so whenever someone is retiring or a wrestler passes away or there's a really big, match coming up, they have people who have faced them before, people who are friends with them do little videos like that. So for me, I was like, oh gosh, is at the end they're going to say someone's died that I didn't know of, and it genuinely made me worry slightly. But I really did enjoy it because I feel like we all got to see outside of I mean, in some ways it was staged, but at the same time, you could really feel their passion for Scooby in those interviews, especially with Frank Welker. He is amazing at doing voices and stuff, and in every single time he spoke about voicing Fred or one of the monsters and how he got into it, you could tell he loved it. And that's one thing I really loved about those little like clips of them speaking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And Frank Welker's were especially prominent in that we got to see how they were changing between voices. Like, we actually got to watch them revert from doing Fred to Scooby in a split second, which was always really impressive to see, I think it's fair to say. Now, this is a question I'm going to direct at smASH. In terms of these video clips, do you know if this was filmed during COVID? Like, if they'd have just had to send in a clip if they could?
That's a good question because, like, so I met Frank Welker back in September, and let me say, like, yeah, he can legit do that. Just go from one character to a creature to someone else of a different, franchise. Like, this guy is. Can he be my grandpa, please? But I remember, like, relatively close to when COVID had just started hitting and whatever, that they built all the Scooby actors and actresses an in-home recording studio so that they could record at home and still work on it, because like for animation, a lot of it they can do remotely. They can animate at home. I mean, they finished the movie Scoob at home. And so, I this doesn't exactly answer your question, but just to add to the point, because a lot of people were worried, myself included, that this reunion special was going to be where they announced Frank Welker's retirement. Luckily, that did not happen, but I honestly think, as horrible as COVID is, and we don't want it in any way, it had, there's little blessings in it, and I really think that since Frank Welker has his own, recording studio in his house now, I think he's gonna do it longer than he originally planned to, because now, he can just chill at home and record everything and just send it over and whatever. He doesn't have to make his way somewhere, especially as he continues to age and stuff, as everybody does. But for this particular thing, I'm not entirely sure when this was recorded, because a lot of people were confused why they were doing this reunion special for the 52nd anniversary and not the 50th back in 2019. And so, I mean, there had to have been some sort of planning. I almost wonder if this came out of COVID. They were like, oh, the lot of Warner Brothers is empty now, and we can have one or two people here and there, we just social distance and make sure everyone's safe and whatever. So let's use the lot of Warner Brothers while it's empty and do this, hybrid cartoon and live action thing. And so I almost wonder if this special itself came from COVID happening.
That's a very interesting kind of possibility.
Things did do though. Like, I know that there was a very touching tribute to, oh gosh, what are their name? I actually can't remember. That's actually really sad. But the actress Elizabeth Sladen, who played Sarah Jane Smith, that the whole cast during COVID got together to do a nice tribute to them. And I think a lot of other franchises did similar things, so that's definitely a possibility.
So again, just going to keep firing questions at everybody because I'm interested to get different people's...
I've got one, but it will make me angry if it's confirmed. But obviously you can go first because I'm kind of raging.
So this question, and I'm going to ask Rihanna first, is what do you think to the kind of format that they took? Not like the mixed media, but like almost like a documentary, so that the real characters on a set, Velma's speaking to her agent, all that kind of thing. Do you have any kind of thoughts or feelings on how you enjoyed that?
Honest, again, it was like a mixed thing. As it went on, I got used to it and I really enjoyed it. But at first I was like, it just, something just felt off. But when they cut to like seeing how things were, like how they designed the characters and all of that stuff. And I think it was the part where they spoke about how each character, they wanted to have their own individual silhouette and walk that was iconic and noticeable to them. They then cut to where what was it? They cut to where the characters were walking and things like that. So you can see it play out as well. And I feel like as it went on and I got more of an image, and that's also why I watched it a second time, I picked up on smaller things like that. It kind of allowed us as viewers and fans of Scooby to see everything come together from where they first designed them to all of the changes. And, we all, I think, questioned, why haven't they changed Velma from having a turtleneck? Things like that. And we saw the characters themselves question their costume choices and things like that. And in the end, I really enjoyed it, I think.
That's amazing. I mean, I think I completely agree with you that the history behind it was certainly, for me, one of my favourite parts, just to kind of hear a bit about the backstory, what has changed, why it's changed, why they've gone with the choices that they did in terms of the walks, the silhouettes, all that kind of thing. Smash, I think I'm going to direct the same question to you. How did you feel about the format that they took with like it being almost like, you know, real characters that are just kind of backstage, Velma getting called from her agents, all that kind of thing?
So they had kind of done this twice before. I'd say this one's a little more similar to the like I think it was called like Those Meddling Kids, a little behind the scenes thing that was on the VHS of Scooby Doo's Greatest Mysteries. It played in between the episodes, um, and that one they kind of more talked about like growing up and stuff, and like they talked about and Dad's the one that gave us the Mystery Machine and this and that and whatever. But then also Scooby Doo Goes Hollywood, was a special back in either the late 70s or 80s or something. And that one, that whole movie, they act like their mysteries are, just this uh, show that they do and stuff. And Shaggy's like, okay, Scoob, we're going to give you your big break and whatever. And Scooby's like, okay, whatever. But, and so like for me, I've seen this before, and so was it a little weird? I mean, yeah, just because it's not the normal Scooby Doo, but I honestly felt like I got used to it really fast. Uh, just because, again, I had seen it before, them doing this type of thing. And the longer it went, too, I was like, okay, so, I almost took this version of the gang, as almost not necessarily copy and paste, but like almost like the voice actors and actresses, like it was Gray and Frank and Matthew and Kate, just in these sort of costumes rather than the Mystery Inc. characters themselves. So I don't know. I got used to it really fast, honestly.
So JayBee, what was your question that you had?
So it sounded like, because they like obviously flash through a bit of the history, like everyone was saying, but they flash, I think, once to the original Where Are You series, and I think they also do a kind of flashback to a scene from the cyber chase. Now, to me, it very much sounded like they got Kate Micucci to voice over what was originally Nicole Jaffe and BJ Ward's lines. And I don't know, did anyone kind of pick up on that? Because that actively made me angry.
I got so mad. I'm recovering from having a cold, and I just went to my mum and I said, "How dare they?" Like, I love Kate and I love what she's doing with the voice, but it just they could have kept the original voice of Velma for those.
Like, I agree completely. And here's the thing, I don't know if it's because maybe they didn't have the right to use Nicole Jaffe or BJ Ward. I mean, I can't think why, so I'm thinking that's not the case. But they reuse a clip, I think, from Shaggy a bit later on, and it's still Casey Kasem from what I can hear. I mean, maybe Matthew Lillard just did a really great Casey Kasem impression, that's always possible. But it didn't sound like they tampered with Casey Kasem's voice, so it was confusing to me why it sounded like they got Kate Micucci to redub over those lines, because obviously it's a reunion, maybe they want to keep a consistent image all throughout, but like redoing what was done before doesn't honour what was done before, it just changes it. But I can't confirm if they did do it. It annoyed me, because I think Velma's voice is always so different that you can tell BJ Ward from Kate Micucci so distinctly that it was just so uncanny to see that happen. Did you notice that, Millie?
I couldn't say I noticed it because I don't really pay attention to the change in voices, but one thing that I do think on a similar line is that it was almost like they tried to be too consistent with the voice actors. There wasn't enough credit or interaction, I want to say, from previous voice actors and actors, like people that have previously voiced the gang. So it wasn't until the very end we saw, Matthew Lillard, Kate Micucci, Gray. Like, it wasn't until the very end that we saw them. But at the same time, not even just redubbing over it, but it would have been good to kind of maybe have some presence, some nostalgia from people like, you know, Scott Innes is still really kind of into Scooby. They're very involved in things. I don't think it'd have been too difficult to perhaps to even just to get them to a brief voice message like Seth Green did.
Yeah, like it's just weird because it's a reunion, and obviously
They didn't really reunite anybody.
No, as Velma very rightly says at the start, well, we've not been apart for 52 years, and that's true for the characters. But like, I think if they reunited, say, you know, Sarah Michelle Gellar with Matthew Lillard and all of that crew, that would have been an event. Now, it definitely wouldn't have been, I think, what the kind of hardcore purists would want. I think if they had their way, they would want to resurrect Casey Kasem and Heather North and have them in there, which I agree that would be like the best celebration of, you know, 50th or 52nd anniversary. But failing that, reunite the original 2002 cast, or get Kate Melton, Nick Pilates, Robbie Amell to like do their thing as well. Like, there's a cast that we have that are all still alive, that haven't been with each other since, you know, for like a good 10 or so years. And they're just, I don't understand why they didn't utilize them. If they're going to call it a special, that's fine. But they actively, I think, from what I can gather, called this a reunion, and they didn't unite anyone.
So, Smash, what's your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was waiting for this conversation because, you know, it started, and at first I was like, okay, whatever, I can brush it off because they're trying to have consistency, you know, with this reunion special. And then as soon as they kept Casey Kasem as a voice, I was like, okay, love Casey Kasem, so glad they kept it. But why does Velma not get the same respect? I was so upset. I watched this when I was on my trip with my friends in Park City, and we were staying in a one-room condo, and, you know, I was just like watching it on my computer, and that part started coming up, and I started saying words, and they were like, "You don't like it?" And I'm like, "I'm just upset that they're not respecting the voice actresses. That's all." And they're like, "Okay." I kind of shocked them for a minute because it was like dead silent, and then I was like, "Are you flipping kidding me?" Anyway, I was upset, and I will not get over it. I will have PTSD, not really PTSD, but I will need anger management class because of this freaking thing. I was like, oh, anyway. But I also feel like of other Scooby fans were expecting this, that the reunion special meant, I mean, yes, we're going to have people that worked on the franchise come back and do it. But I was expecting to maybe finally see Scooby Dum come back, Scooby D, Vincent Van Gogh, Flim Flam, you know, like characters within the franchise come back and do like a reunion. But then we have like 1.5 million randos, which is great. Love that they're getting the respect that they worked on Scooby. But like, I mean, if we can talk to Kate Melton, I'm sure they can get her to just send a little message for this. You know, like, I don't know. There was just a lot of missed opportunity here, and there's my 2 cents before I just keep going.
See, I wasn't gonna fuck my own Scooby tonight,
no, we were. We did talk about this when we watched this, and this sounds arrogant. It does, and it's not meant to be that way. I love Scooby. We both love Scooby. It's been a huge part of our childhoods, of growing up, everything. But our issue, we feel this collectively. We've discussed it today. Is how is it possible that with 52 years working on Scooby, this is the best they could do in terms of guests? JayBee has been reaching out to people for interviews for 52 days around that. And we've had Kate Melton, an actual Daphne, like Kate Melton. We've had Andrea LeBlanc from the live action, not from the live action, from the show, like something that's about to be happening with Scooby that's current, that's exciting. Again, brought somebody in from like the like Scooby Doo 2 with a tattooed fan, and like there's
Scooby Natural.
Scooby Natural. There's so many people that that he's reached out to that are, I want to say, arguably more high profile, but I can't really say who they are, but that have like said, okay, great, let's like talk in January, let's set things up for January. And it's like, how is it possible that in 52 days he has managed to do this? Because it is all JayBee. I don't put as much time into it as he does. That they've had 52 years and the name Warner Brothers to throw around as well, and they could get Seth Green, and that's kind of where they drew the line. Like, that does sound bad. It does sound arrogant, but it's almost like they were like, okay, we've got a reunion coming up next week. We haven't actually done anything for it. So if you could just circulate an email and ask people to send in video messages, and we'll just see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's really bad to say. I know it sounds bad. I know it sounds really arrogant and awful. And I don't mean it to be as disrespectful as it is, because it is disrespectful to say, but like, I personally just would like to say I have a huge amount of respect for JayBee and everything that he's achieved in approximately 52 days when they've had 52 years. And this is the guest they've had.
Well, I don't know. It's not just us as well, like we've got, obviously like people like Nikki Blake interviewing Scott Innes, and you know what I mean? And I think even nowadays, even though you've got wildly successful people on YouTube, doing YouTube is still not seen as the most legitimate way to run things. And so when there's people here that just like watching the show that can arrange things, I think it doesn't bode well. And I'm almost thinking, like, do they not have good relations with people that they've worked with? Because I don't want to, like, speak for anyone else, but I'm 85-90% sure that we could invite everyone that we've interviewed back to do a follow-up or something. And if they had time, each of them would say yes. And so it's kind of like, well, did they annoy people that used to work on the show, and that's why they've not gone, okay, well, we can't send a voice message in?
But I mean, okay, so maybe I sound a bit arrogant in what I've just said. So like, not just me and JayBee here, but like, smASH, you and Rihanna as well. Like, we were talking to Rihanna and instantly she was like, okay, well, obviously you've just been covering the wrestling ones. Like, maybe this is something that we can look at, something we can think about. I know in the past you've said, oh, okay, well, I know the people that are involved in this remake. Like, it's like there's a level of passion there where we're actively thinking of what to do next and who we can speak to and stuff like that to keep it interesting. And it's kind of like, okay, because we've got a passion for Scooby, it's easy. We've thought about that. We can do it. It's almost like, I don't know, just almost like they don't have that level of motivation, because we've managed to speak to these people just by reaching out or thinking of new people to try to speak to through having a conversation amongst ourselves. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. I love Seth Green, I do, and it's amazing that he replied to the email to send in a video clip or whatever, but it's like, I don't understand why it's just him.
Yeah. I mean, a part of me kind of likes that they've done a variety, right? So I like how they've got Seth Green for a bit from the first movie, or from like the live action films, but I guess they really have covered all bases in who they've got. Maybe that was out of, who can they get versus who they wanted to get. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I wasn't gonna mention anything like that.
And then they try and add credence to it by then, like, so some person turns up and she's like, oh yeah, I was meant to be cast 52 years ago. She doesn't even look 52, so it's almost like they've had to, for the sake of plot, start making up who they've actually interacted with. And it's like, okay, well, I can understand if you're doing it for the plot, but at the same time, it's kind of sad that, like, you're actually making up more people than you've kind of got. It's a bit peculiar.
Here's my issue there.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, do you want to continue?
I was just going to say, one thing that I do appreciate that was good in terms of these interviews, and because this is the positive note, I think I'm going to bring like Rihanna into this, because they're such a nice, positive person. I don't want to like drag them into the negativity bits, but like to show that clip of Barbara from an old interview, to have that in there, I think was really nice. Did you enjoy that as well?
Yeah, that was like anytime, you know, because they're not around anymore. So just seeing those old clips that aren't as well known that they're out there and everything, it warms my heart. But I actually wanted to mention one thing. You know when they who was it? She mentioned about how they're brought in as the mechanic. And then it
Yes.
showed a small like a picture of the what she called like the motel. What I noticed was I was looking at it and I was like, where have I seen that? Which episode? Because I mean I need to rewatch Scooby Doo Where Are You 100%, especially the first episode. But all I could think of, did they take the house from that was like falling apart from the Spooky Space Cook episode and just make it lighter? Because it looked a spitting image of it. And that's been bugging me because I can't quite remember actually seeing that in an episode other than in that one, but I might be completely wrong.
Smash, did you recognise it?
I'd have to see it again.
I mean, I do understand where Ariana's come from. Like, I do feel like some things are perhaps reused and repurposed. And I don't remember a plot where they would have been involved or anything, so it does.
That's actually really interesting, though. But I think that, like, I was just gonna say, like, it's always nice to have this kind of show format where I'm a bit of a buffoon. Like, I enjoy things, but I don't know anything. Whereas Smash and Rihanna just know so much about Scooby and the history of things. And I guess to that end, I don't know how many people that watch Scooby know about the history of things, what the original plans were for it and everything. But I'm thinking as well, just telling us the story of that would have been cool. But there's like, even then, there's loads of YouTube videos that say that, and it's almost like what the people are making on platforms like YouTube almost seem to be more passion-driven than this.
Yeah.
What Warner Brothers should do, they should hire us to do a new special for a reunion. I can speak to Kate because Kate Melton, you know, I have lessons with her every single week basically, and she's told me so many times she would pick up the phone instantly if it was them asking for her to come and reprise the role as Daphne or do an interview or something. She really would love to. And I think if they had actually contacted her for this reunion, she would have happily done a video. And it actually, another little point that's a side note, I feel like in some ways they have, Warner Brothers have kind of, I don't want to say discounted, but they've washed away Mystery Begins and Curse of the Lake Monster. Like, they don't talk about the actors and actresses as much. They don't invite them to the like premieres and stuff, things like that. I feel like it was just a TV movie, there we go, you're done, there's not going to be a third one, get on with your lives kind of thing. You're not going to do anything else with Scooby-Doo. And I feel like if they had asked Kate Melton, 100% she would have been in there for the reunion. And it would have been cool to see like cartoon Daphne interact with Sarah Michelle Gellar and Kate Melton, be like, oh, you know, you played me, that's weird, you know.
I mean, that's nuts, because obviously, like, I don't want to, like, it make implications or anything, but that all but confirms that there is a legit awesome Daphne that would have been more than happy to answer the call, and they didn't even try. And so a part of me is like, who did they contact? What was their mailing list? Like, I obviously understand if they sent messages to, you know, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Kate Melton, Nick Pilates, and they were just like, oh, we're busy, or it's not something we want to be involved in. But the fact that there's like a Daphne sat there and you're not even sending an email, like, what are you doing? What are you, like, that just doesn't make sense.
My argument is, even if they're saying, oh, you know, like, we didn't want to focus in on having too many people there, or taking away too much from the characters being real, because we do have a large like child audience and all that kind of thing. So what? Like, if anything, it would validate them having Kate Melton there. Like, she is who Daphne is. Like, in the nicest possible way, Griffin and DeLisle, sorry, is like incredible. She is. But if you see a picture of her and you're 10 years old, you're not going to know that's Daphne. You see a picture of Kate Melton and you're like, that's Daphne. I know that's Daphne because I've watched 2 hour-and-a-half long movies with her in it where she is Daphne. And that was Fred, that was Shaggy, and that was Velma. So if anything, it makes more sense to bring them in because they have been there. They've been the presence and the image, and even the younger audience, I think, would associate with them better than some of the other people that they've used. Like, voice actors are incredible. They really are. But the fact of the matter is, and this is really controversial to say, I think Frank Welker's incredible. He is. But if you showed me a picture of Kate Melton and a picture of Frank Welker 5 years ago, I could have told you who Kate Melton is. I couldn't have told you who Frank Welker was. And that's controversial to say, but I think Frank Welker got a lot of features in that, and he was one of the only people that did. Like, he got, I want to say, 4 or 5 showcases, and none of the other gang got one. And so I understand that a lot of people speculated that that was his retirement episode and that he's one of the originals, has been there from the start. But at the same time, I do think, like we were saying, there's people that would have been interested that are more visually associated with Scooby. And like, when we were speaking to Kate Melton, she was saying, like, Nick Pilatus, he'd probably be interested in speaking too, and all that kind of thing. Like, that people out there do have an interest. It's just mesmerizing how it's almost like Warner Brothers missed the mark on such a grand level when they could have had so many other people. Like I've said it before, and again, it feels really bad to kind of be bigging ourselves up this much, but you know, just from speaking to people, JayBee's achieved all he has for the channel and for us getting us to speak to people. It's like, if you interacted with people, you'd see that they had that interest.
Well, I think it's more what they did do instead. Like, like we said, we've established that they could have had a greater segment with Kate Melton, even if they wanted her to be in character. Maybe, I'm sure she would have been up for something like that. You know, I don't know. But instead, we got a 10-minute segment dedicated to someone that is supposedly going home practicing different ways to pick up Scooby's drool.
Yeah, okay, so I'm like, I take a little bit of a negative stance on the middle section of the special. Things like Shaggy's trainer and the person that says Scooby's been eating too many Scooby snacks and I take this bucket home to practice catching them when he spits them out. Why was that necessary? I don't think it contributed anything. I think it was strange. There was a lot more interesting things that could have filled that space. You know, like Rihanna was saying, she enjoyed learning about the silhouettes and the walk and all that kind of thing. We could have continued with that, looking at art styles, looking at colours, more on the transformations over the years. Why were the villains influenced the way they were? At what points did they start to use lighter colour palettes, darker colour palettes? There's so much more to know about Scooby than some make-believe bucket handler.
But it's like, Warner Brothers aren't, you know, complete schmucks, right? They've made good things, and they've even produced some really cool Scooby things. Like, all the behind the scenes from things like the cyber chase, I think is absolutely phenomenal, especially getting more insight to even who played the Phantom Virus. And again, there's a bonus feature that I found on the kind of, I think it's the Diamond or Platinum collection for Scooby Doo Where Are You seasons 1 and 2, but where they went through, you know, there's Scott Innes, there's this nice couple, I think they're from Texas, they go through all their Scooby Doo collection, like, and I think that that's good. I could watch that on repeat a good 5-6 times in a sitting just because it's so interested in seeing this type of thing. Like, so they've produced good stuff just for bonus features that you'd think that they would put that same kind of effort into something like this. And I guess if we're doing stuff in order, because I think I just wanted to make a dig at the, you know, the spitting. But I guess next on the list would be the Scooby voice coach. If, you know, and I thought that was actually one of it. I think it started off as being quite a cute thing because it was a way to show a bit of Frank Welker's range, but I think it just went into the cringe a bit too much for my liking. But I didn't hate it. I didn't hate that part. What about you, Millie?
What do you mean the voice coach bit?
So there's like this guy that's kind of coached because they kind of made up a backstory that initially Scooby was like working at Broadway, and they were like an understudy in King Lear or something, and so they had to prepare them
Hamlet.
for Hamlet.
I just think there was a lot that wasn't necessary, and this was part of it. Like, I enjoyed hearing from people that have been involved in Scooby, like really been involved in Scooby, like Seth Green. And I enjoyed the history and like the design choices and stuff. I didn't enjoy the pantomime that went alongside it. Like, we are about to come up to what is honestly my biggest pet peeve of the entire thing, where I was literally like, okay, they've literally just, this isn't real, this is genuinely just a joke to them at this point. And that's when we see the snow monster in that white onesie. Like, I think that's pretty much the next part that we come up to in terms of my notes. And honestly, like, I hated it just seeing that was meant to be the scary monster. I found it ridiculous, and it reiterated to me why Scooby-Doo needs to be animated in the majority of instances, because it literally is a person in a costume. And seeing that with somebody in what looks like a white onesie running around a parking lot, I hated it. I'm sorry to say it, but just whatever they did with the villain that was part of the pantomime in between the interviews and the history, just seeing them, it angered me a bit.
Yeah, I mean,
I just found it like it was a joke to them.
Scooby is supernatural because then they can do CGI monsters and stuff.
Yes.
Whereas, it would just be some guy in an outfit.
I mean, like, I think I'm gonna like ask Smash the question, because I feel like when I've got something negative to say, I feel like I'm gonna get a little bit of support. What did you think to the monster in this?
All right, here we go.
Ooh.
This thing, they could have just grabbed it, unzipped it. No, maybe don't, because, like, for me, sorry, JayBee, I know you said to be team, but, like, when I wear a onesie, I don't wear nothing besides underwear. You know, so, like, maybe they didn't want to do that. But, just I have had conversations with people about this, and we all are like, so we have a store here in America called Dollar, or people just call it the Dollar Store. We're like, did they really just go pick up a costume from the dollar store? Because that's supposed to be the snow ghost from the Scooby Doo Where Are You episode. That just looks like a Yeti of generic kind. And like, I don't know, and I think the costume itself really reflects the budget and time and effort that they really put into the special alone. So it was like, they wanted a mystery for this because of Scooby-Doo. They said, well, we don't want to spend the money on a CGI monster. Well, we also don't want to spend the money on making a costume. Go to Spirit Halloween and put on someone who can just run around and act like they're kind of scary. And honestly, I think this special would have been better if they didn't do this at all. Like, I think I would have enjoyed it more if there wasn't these weird shenanigans of a child running around in a costume trying to scare people like he is getting candy, you know, or that he was told he can't get candy. Now they're just like, okay, I'm gonna scare everyone, and everyone apparently believes it. And my rant is over.
I'm very much on the same page as you. Like, okay, so when there's a question that I've got a slightly negative opinion of, I don't like asking Joanna, because I feel like you're such a positive person. I don't like to like transfer my negative energy over to you. But how did you feel about the monster for this episode special?
I think I've got a sheep onesie that looks like that, to be honest. But I am going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. The hands, I focused on like the hands and the feet of the costume. They were really detailed, and that was a little bit that kind of made me feel a bit scared in some ways. But at the end, it was like, this is obviously just a costume, but the craftsmanship of the hands and the feet of the costume, that really stood out to me. But I kind of feel like it was a comedy relief from COVID, that they saw an opportunity. Oh, we can make money. Everyone will watch Scooby Doo. Let's try and make people laugh, kind of thing. And I don't think they were really thinking about the consequences. And diehard fans like us, we look at it and we're like, we could have written it as a much better reunion. We could have prepared it. Heck, I think we should, like, one day, like, try and set it up. But there were certain parts which I really did like with the ghost. Like, I love the fact they included the chase scene. I love the fact that they included 2 songs, from the beginning song from Camp Scare, and then the chase song, I believe, is from Abracadabra Doo. Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Yes.
Comic Magic. And I really enjoyed that because it's classic Scooby-Doo chase scene, going throughout the props, things like that. That just, it made it a little bit better, and we saw a little bit of it, the monster being animated, and that saved it a little bit for me. And then there was a part when they were on the Gilmore Girls set, and so I know for a fact, Jared Padalecki is still working with CW and Warner Brothers and Walker. He was in Gilmore Girls. He auditioned to play Shaggy. They could have brought him in to be the Snow Ghost, because when it was on the Gilmore Girls set, and that was the first time we fully saw the costume, I think, the monster. I was like, I turned to my brother and sister and my mum, and I said, it's Jared Padalecki. I think it's Jared Padalecki. It's got to be. He's getting revenge because he didn't get to play Shaggy. That would have made so much more sense. And
that would have been so much better.
But and the whole, at the end when it was all revealed, there were saving moments, but it all could have been done better, I think.
I have to say, for a more positive note, sorry.
No, after you.
I was just gonna say, for to save myself a little bit in this negative hole I keep digging. I honestly really enjoyed like the end chase though, where Shaggy and Scooby were in the banana splits costumes, and like it was playing the banana splits theme and stuff. Like, okay, I can give it to the monster just for that sequence alone.
See,
I love
like
that sequence so much.
See, I agree with some of what Rihanna was saying. The first chase scene where they almost use the original artwork, I think you pointed out, didn't you, JayBee?
Yeah.
Where they're kind of running in lines. That was really good. I always enjoy like a callback to like some original stuff. I feel like I'm in even more of a negative pit with this than Smash is though, because I didn't like the second chase scene, where there's literally like 3 onesies at that point and they're like running around.
I think it's because we don't know who these... What
Yeah, the only saving grace for that, I was like, imagine if they'd got Matthew Lillard running around in the costume that's meant to be Shaggy. That'd be quite fun.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
That's the only thing I took away from that. What about you, JayBee? The 2 chases. Oh, sorry, Rihanna.
Sorry. With the banana split costume, my mum was telling me about how on the banana split show, like there were crossovers with Scooby Doo and that, and I think they wanted to pay homage to that because I feel like not a lot of people know about those crossovers and how Scooby appeared on the banana splits episodes and things like that.
JayBee, how are you feeling about the chase scenes?
Right, I'm gonna say something. It's gonna shock a lot of people, but I just want to move on from it because I want to make this very clear. Okay? So are you prepared, Millie, to move on from this quickly?
Yes.
The adult parody did it better.
Okay, we're moving on from that right now. So what I'm trying to see where we're up to. So there's an appearance from like a few things that I think I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. There's an appearance from like again a few things that I'm just finding a bit barbaric. I don't quite understand, and I'm hoping someone may explain this to me, why they cut to a thing with the Powerpuff Girls.
Oh, I like that actually, because I think it's because I'm biased because I know who they were. I was like, yeah.
It's interesting. I know who the Powerpuff Girls are. I watched it. I had little minifigures.
Oh, did you actually?
Yeah.
Do you still have them?
No, I just
Aw.
don't understand the relevance of it. Like, I think I'm too serious. Like, JayBee will agree with this. I'm a very serious person. I'm a very logical person. And I think, like, from the last episode that we recorded, I think with SMASH, you know, about, like, the racing one where I was like, oh, well, that doesn't work because you wouldn't have the weight in the car because of this, and this. Yeah, I'm a lot like Velma. I'm very logical. I like to think about things, like, practically. And so I get that it's fun because it's like, oh, I know them. But I just don't get why.
I think it's because the Powerpuff Girls was one of the last cartoons that Hanna-Barbera Studios produced before it just like kind of became all of Warner Brothers and Cartoon Network. Because Hanna-Barbera cartoons ran from 1998 to 2002, and the Powerpuff Girls, I'm trying to see exactly when that came out. It was from 1998 to 2005. So yeah, it was one of their shows that was under like the Hanna-Barbera name.
There's also an inconsistency that I kind of want to point out because it's kind of like funny how quickly they kind of make this mistake, or I don't know if it was just like an in-joke, but I think it's where they go to the prop department or the costume department, and they say in like the narration that they've not had a change of clothing for the last 52 years, and then they literally do a shift where it shows the comparison between the classic costumes and the what's new costumes.
Yes.
We get very picky with this, don't we, JayBee?
Yeah, but it's like, what is it? Is it what's new not canon? Is it canon? Like, why? It confused me.
I feel like we're pretty much at the unmasking now, right?
I mean, what I was gonna say, and I think this is kind of my thing. So they talk about Shaggy going for like karate lessons and stuff, and I thought that was okay, but I feel like that would have been a perfect kind of illustration. They could have used that to signify Daphne's change of character. Like they could have really like drawn into the thing, whereas at the start she was a damsel in distress, and now, you know, going into more modern series, she became the kind of fighter, the martial arts expert.
Or I guess if there were Shaggy's trainer, it could be like, oh, I used to teach Shaggy how to do this, but now I'm a trainer for Daphne because as of this movie, she started doing the martial arts thing more.
It could be, and it also could have been a reference to like the deleted scene from the 2002 movie that actually showed her doing this kind of karate lesson thing. So I just feel like they could have really used that as a more of like an education thing, that this is what it was like before, but then after the series we realised this, and that's why we have this now. But
yeah.
Again, more wasted potential.
Anything else before the unmasking?
So have we got to, okay, so we've spoken about, I mean, okay, here's one scene or one segment that I did really like. I loved it when they were talking about the villains. Like hearing Frank Welker talking about how he would often find a villain and he went to the producers or the people saying, oh, I think I could do a voice like this, and then he like sampled it. I love that.
Yes. I wanted that to be the entire episode, like anecdotes from the cast like that.
Yeah, and it's just a shame because I think that Frank Welker was so like promoted and featured in this, rightly so, because they have been in the show since the start and they are that kind of only remaining voice. But I think that if they just managed it evenly between all the cast, I think it would have been a much stronger show for it. Not that Frank Welker's not amazing, but it's about all of the gang. And arguably Fred isn't the most popular, and that doesn't matter, but I just think it would have been nice to see, you know, Matthew Lillard, Kate Micucci, and just great in that scenario where they were just talking about some of their experiences. Like, Grace opened up about how, in like that kind of cyber chase interview that was on the bonus features, about how she wanted to have more influence in the Daphne character. Like, just all of it, I think. It's just, I don't know what they were going for. But I think they overused Frank a little bit too much. or at least they should have made it a longer special.
More proportional, like
Yeah.
to have the others involved just as much.
Even Matthew Lillard talking about the live action films.
Yeah,
and the
because he's
transition
got
between them.
experience that Frank Welker arguably doesn't. Like you say, been in the live action movies, and also, like, when they're not new to Scooby. Like, for all Frank Welker's been there 52 years, Matthew Lillard's been there 20.
And Gray's been there since the Cyber Chase, right?
Yeah, so it's not like it's like, oh, they're newbies, we don't need them involved. Like, they're kind of new to the process. Like, they might not have been there as long, but they've certainly been there enough amount of time to make them relevant.
And here's one thing that I would love to ask someone that knows behind the scenes stuff, and that is if this was a special that people had to participate in, like the main cast, because of contractual obligations, or if it was optional or not. That's one thing I would really like to know, because obviously that changes things, and it's like, well, you know, obviously they've got Frank Welker and Scoob when the rest of the main cast were dropped, and it's like, is that Warner Brothers mentality that, you know, and I think Frank deserves the respect, but do they see him as like, because he's from the originals, he's like the king and everyone else is disposable to an extent? I don't know.
Hey, Smash, I'm gonna like... Oh, sorry, Rihanna.
Sorry. Part of me feels like, I know recently Frank did an interview where he addressed his whole retirement thing. He said he's got so many more projects that he's doing. I think potentially, my brother is a huge fan of his as well because of other things that he's done. We were both saying that it did feel like, were they expecting with COVID and everything Frank to retire? So they wanted to like really push him so everyone has clips and memories of him. And then afterwards Frank was like, nope, I'm not retiring. I just, you know, you've got all this footage now. I'm not retiring. Let's get on with life and do another Scooby.
I think that makes sense. It'd also have given them a reason why they were doing this reunion special.
And also that, and I've not seen this still to its entirety, that, is it Curse of 1,000 Voices? That was quite Frank heavy in terms of tributing at the end. So all the signs were pointed there.
So, Smash, I'm going to redirect JB's question a bit more specifically and ask you, do you know if, because Frank Welker and Kate Micucci and everybody were the current Scooby Gang, that they were kind of contracted into doing this special? Like, obviously things like Seth Green, it's kind of like, okay, they submitted clips and stuff, they were auditions, but would it have been probably part of the contract that they had to be involved?
I'm sure it was, because, you know, the thing is, there's this big kind of debate and thing that goes around the community that, you know, so many people don't like Kate Micucci as Velma, and everybody wants Mindy Cohn back, which, you know, unfortunately Mindy had to leave on unfortunate circumstances, but she was able to pull through. Luckily, was diagnosed with cancer, and she was able to pull through, and she's doing great now, and everybody wants her to come back, and I think she has stated somewhere that she would like to come back if they, you know, asked her to, but, and so everybody gets so mad at Kate, because they're like, you took her role from her, you know, you need to give it back and stuff. I'm like, Kate, you all need to realize, you know, it wasn't just, oh, here, Kate, have the job. She had to sign a contract, and we have no idea how contract lasts or how it works and everything. You know what you know, like, maybe Mindy could come back one day, or Mindy had a contract that said once she was done, she was done. You know, we don't know. And so I'm sure they were signed to, like, under their contract, it probably says something of like, you know, including all current animated movies and specials and whatever. And so I'm sure that they were under contract to do this.
I think that answers a couple of questions that JB and I were talking about earlier that I think will be maybe mentioned a little bit in my summary.
And I don't know, I just feel like because of the way that the kind of whole Scoob scenario was was handled, it's almost like a big part of me is surprised that they didn't try and get the voice cast from Scoob together in a room at the same time, which in a way
True.
would have arguably been cooler than a lot
But I
of stuff that they
guess
actually did.
Scoob would have only been contracted for Scoob if it's, the contract of Lillard and everybody that they have to do the specials and the everything. They're contractually obligated to do it. Whereas if Scoob was just for the movie, then you've got to get into a new contract with the likes of Zac Efron, Amanda Seyfried. Like, it's no mean feat.
It's just a thing where it's like, it seems like all of the main kind of like star force that they had behind it were locked in by contract, and that makes the amount of people willing to come and do this
Even
either
less.
one, very short, or two, like we've established, they just didn't seem to reach out to many people. And I just don't understand. Like, why does Weird Al have to be in here? Why are these people here? Tell me.
Okay, anything else before the unmasking, JayBee? See, I'm just like rushing JayBee because I'm like, I want to get to my verdict. I've got a lot to say.
Yeah. No, well, I don't have anything to
Okay,
say. I'm just happy.
Then we get to the unmasking. Now, as I've kind of raised, it's a bit of an issue for me that this woman's upset that she didn't get the role 52 years ago and she doesn't even look 52.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Have made Scrappy the villain again. I mean, they dump on Scrappy in this yet again, which I get the dislike for Scrappy, but people like actively campaigning and actively anti-Scrappy, it's utterly pointless at this point because Warner Brothers is on your side. If there was an argument to be made that get rid of Scrappy, why is he in everything? Fair enough, right? But Warner Brothers are literally on your side, so Scrappy haters, please just stop, because you've got, you know what I mean, you by any means in a position of power with this, but it's like, can we make Scrappy the villain again then? At least, like, can we have them in here doing something instead of this woman running around in this Waka Waka 70s outfit? Why are we doing this?
Something else, this is me being like, I think I'm being childish with this at some points, like, I don't know if I'm just being really sensitive with everything that's happening in this episode. But on the unmasking as well, when she tries to say that she'd have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids and she gets interrupted, I'm like, just let her say it. If you end this episode without letting them say this line, I'm genuinely going to be angry. I don't know why that got me, but it genuinely did. I was like, just let her say it. You've messed up enough, like, just let her say the line and let it be done. I'm sick of this. I wasn't really there with the special, as you can tell. Oh gosh, JayBee, any thoughts on the unmasking?
So it's kind of funny because when they are unmasked and they're like, oh, I hope I've ruined the special, and they were like, oh no, it's actually the best thing that's happened because this is what we planned originally. Their original plan sounds better than what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, smash
Really
your
does.
thoughts on the unmasking.
It felt like one of those Scooby episodes where, I mean, yes, we did meet this lady beforehand, but it felt like one of the episodes where they like unmask the monster and it's this person that you never saw in the episode, and it's like, how was I supposed to know? There was nothing to them, and I mean, sometimes even the gang at those points are like, who is this? But it was one of those, like, it makes sense with everything, but at the same time, it could have been such a cool reveal, like, again, be like Matthew Lillard or something, or even like Frank Welker could have just, he maybe didn't do all the actions that it did in the onesie, but then you unmask it, Frank's just like, oh, I just thought it'd be fun to, be a special in a different way, and I don't know, I just wasted opportunity for that unmask.
I'd agree. And then we're coming to and then Rihanna, can I just ask, do you have any thoughts on the unmasking?
I do. I genuinely liked it. So there was the moment when Fred was like, I think it's the producer, and she was standing right there. And all I could think of, this is a red herring moment from a pup named Scooby-Doo. Like, red
True.
herring was there, and it was like, oh, I bet it's red herring. And he was like, no. Like, what? And that just made me think of that. And then the whole unmasking, you know, what I am upset about, we didn't meet Scooby's illegitimate children. I want to know who they are, where they are. And I want one. I want one of his children to add to my 3 dogs that I already have and have a talking puppy.
KK Slider.
But like, I think it definitely could have been better, but the whole wrap up, and they did manage to get in. I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids. And then they had the dance. What was going on with Fred's knees?
Now, I'm going to say that after the unmasking, it's my favourite part of this special.
Yeah.
I love the What's New Scooby Doo song, so for that to be the song they used.
I wish they would have got Simple Plan
so
though. Why did they not get Simple Plan at this place?
Because they don't network like you do, okay?
Well, I can't get Simple Plan on the show. I don't know
if you
think
had
I
the name
am.
Warner Brothers behind you, you could. If you could
maybe.
make a call to them and it's going to come up on their phone, like, oh, Warner Brothers is calling, you wouldn't have a problem. Like, you're fine. You're great. Trust me. Just shush. So this, I think, is the best part of the thing, because it's when you actually get to hear from the cast. One thing that I will say is Kate Micucci is Velma in Sword and the Scoob, isn't she?
Yes.
So when I first heard Kate Micucci, that was the first movie I heard their voice in, and I hated their voice. I was like, I can't watch this. I can't watch this at all.
I think you thought it was Alvin and the Chipmunks.
And yeah, it was high pitched. I just couldn't take it. But my opinion of them has come full circle. I've recently been enjoying things that they've voiced, and when we actually saw her, I could see her as a live action Velma, you know?
Yeah.
Like, at the end of this special, I genuinely saw that they would make a good live action Velma. Lillard's obviously been a live action Shaggy. Gray is amazing. Like, you know, they interact with the channel so much. They're a huge support on there, and like, just like liking Twitter posts and things, it's really helpful. And obviously the intro as well has been amazing. So, you know, they're just incredible.
Oh, she did a cosplay of Daphne recently, and it was awesome. So she can definitely do it. I think they're all amazing, and it's just a shame.
So good to hear from them. And for me, that was the best part of it, because it was like saying Lillard, we met them at For the Love of Horror in Manchester, the Comic-Con, and so it's like, oh my gosh, look, it's them. Like, it was exciting to see them. It wasn't exciting to see the monster from this running around in the onesie. Like, to see the actual actors and the voices and what they look like. Like I said, to see what Kate Micucci looked like, it's like, oh my gosh, wow, like, I didn't realise they were actually really suited to this. And even the characteristics to get into character, where she was like, oh, my glasses, like, and like to put her glasses on and stuff. It was like, oh my gosh, just to see stuff like this is what's interesting. This is what's engaging. Why has she only been given like a 30-second time slot? I'm genuinely engaged with this.
It's just mad. Like, obviously towards the end, that's meant to be the finale, like the kind of oh my gosh moment, and it's who we've already seen throughout the show, but now they're on a FaceTime call. Like, it's cool. It's the best part, in my opinion, but it's just I want more of these people, and they have been present all throughout the show. They recorded these lines physically. Just stick a camera on them doing this, and have it in the top corner like a YouTube reaction video. Like, anything that was a bit more personal and a bit I just don't know.
Rihanna, how did you feel about this last bit where you actually get to see the cast and that kind of thing?
Loved it. I'm not going to lie, I teared up with it. I was like, this is amazing. And I will say with Kate, you know, I didn't like her voice starting out, but when she just speaks normally, how she usually sounds, I feel like she sounds more like Velma than when she adds that more nasally tone.
And Be Cool Scooby
And I think
Doo.
she should stick to that. Yeah, and she sounds so much better as Velma, just as herself. And seeing Gray Griffin, Frank Welker, Matthew Lillard, it, you know, the whole episode, it could have been done better, and I keep saying that it really could have, but it's small moments like that that make me want to just watch it again. It was beautifully done at the end, and I think it was worth the suffering.
I almost want to like crop it down to just having those really nice little interview bits and then that ending, because it was really good at the end.
I mean, I'd quite like a segment where we discuss what our ideal, you know, I mean, if we were in charge of creating this, what we would almost craft.
Okay, should we do that after our verdicts? Because I guess the verdicts will encompass what we wanted to see, right?
Yeah, and I think everyone listening to this is going to be surprised at the verdicts. I think we're all they're all at the end of their seats wondering what we're going to say.
So, lastly, Smash, I'm going to direct the same question to you. How did you feel about the ending, kind of seeing the cast and everything?
Hulk smash.
Yeah, I'm gonna Hulk smash this. I really enjoyed that part. You know, I thought it was a good way to send it off and, you know, end it. I mean, although I'm glad that, you know, we got some interviews from the cast and whatever. I do, in a way, kind of feel like it would have been a little more if, like, it really, really ended with them. Like, we hadn't seen them all of the special, and then, you know, we had a good, say, 10-15 minutes of, you know, going through each of the cast and really giving them moments to shine and talk about their time with Scooby-Doo and whatever. You know, just to have some more screen time and whatever. But, you know, overall, I think favorite parts of the whole special is just seeing them all and kind of having them sign off the special.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. So, of course, now I think we've reached the time when we go to the Smash or Pass verdict. So, JayBee, as always, I'm going to start with you. Scooby Doo Anniversary Special, where are you now? Smash or Pass?
I don't think it's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, to be honest. And, you know what I mean? I consider myself a bit of an old dog at this point. You know, I'm nearing 25. I'm getting grey hairs already, so... You know what I mean? Like, I've seen some stuff. But I can't find enough redeeming qualities that I would ever watch this in its entirety. Now, I agree there's moments like this that make me want to watch it. So 1,000,000% I would maybe choose little snippets, like parts from the villains being talked about or the ending scene to kind of get that, not necessarily information, but just that kind of pleasure sense in my brain, like, oh yeah, this is cool, it's nice to hear this what's new theme again, it's nice to see the cast kind of talking in this regard. But I think nothing would make me watch this whole thing again, and so I think I would pass this reunion special. Now, oh, I don't know how to do this, because if I pass it on to you, then just... I guess. So, Millie, would you smash or pass Scooby-Doo? Where are you now?
Okay, so I'm going to be honest and blunt. I do think that this was handled very poorly. I do feel like there's a really big sense that it was rushed. I don't like the multimedia style. I think, again, that looked very rushed, kind of like they just removed the background from some old kind of scenes where they were walking or running and just overlaid that onto, I know, a Hollywood set, like kind of film set. So that was kind of one of my issues there. And as well, just I think I'm glad Smash said it first, because that kind of prompted us to kind of bring it up. But I just think the guests that they had and the features they had, it was kind of, I want to say it's kind of inexcusable. Like, if you take away from who was contracted to be there, so you take away the gang, you're literally left with some stock footage from Barbera and Seth Green. And I don't understand how that happens. Like I said, to me personally, what I'm taking away from this is it is genuinely like, you're like, okay, 52nd anniversary. For some reason, we want to celebrate the 52nd anniversary, even though it's not really a round number or anything. We're just going to celebrate it. We're going to do a special. It's coming out in 7 days' time. We need to get it to edit in 2 days, bring it all together, send an email around to everybody, and just whoever sends a clip in will include it. To me, that's what happened, because I physically don't understand how we didn't have something different, how we didn't have Kate Melton. Like, we had Kate Melton. Like, we've spoken to Kate Melton. That's still something that, like, I am so proud of and, like, so excited about.
I could get dementia and still remember that interview.
For goodness sake, we managed to speak to her on the night of JayBee's birthday.
Oh, no doubt.
He brought in his birthday with a happy birthday wish from Daphne. That's a huge thing.
Top
to him.
5 moments of my entire life.
Exactly. So it's like, if we can do that as a YouTube channel that's been established for like a year, that only started doing any Scooby related content like a few months ago, it's like, I don't understand how. So obviously what I'm getting at is, for me, this personally is a huge pass. I don't think I'd ever watch it again. There are some really nice moments, and we said we're going to get on to, after this, what we'd have included. So I think that'll add more context to it, but for me it's a very, very big pass. So Rihanna, we're coming to you next, because you're always like light and positive, and that's very refreshing. So, just to hear some little bit of positivity briefly, could you tell us what you think of this? Is it a smash or a pass, and your kind of thoughts behind it?
Okay, where do I even begin? I think, you know, again, I've said this all the way through, it could have been done better, and we'll talk about like what we would have done later. And I feel like there were missed opportunities. It did feel rushed, but at the same time, you know, I've already watched it twice in one day. Like, I think that for itself like speaks volumes for me. And part of me wants to say I wouldn't watch it again, but there are so many moments that I love, and I appreciate the work that went into it. When we had the likes of Speed Buggy, you know, there was the small Batman cameo, you know, things like that. It didn't make sense the first time I watched it, but then when I watched it just before this, it clicked a bit more. And you know, overall it did feel rushed, but part of me wants to say, I mean, I know pretty much everyone's doing it at this stage, blaming COVID, but I think they possibly wanted to do something just in case Frank Welker does retire, just in case, you know, this is his last Scooby. They want to make everyone feel a bit more happier with what's going on. They wanted everyone to have a laugh. There were a lot of jokes in there. There were a lot of references that Scooby fans would appreciate. And I feel like overall, it will probably be at least a month or two before I rewatch it, but I would genuinely rewatch it again just for those little moments, and also to point out and pick out more little references that I didn't notice the first time around, because I feel like with all Scooby-Doo episodes and movies, there's so many little Easter eggs hidden within them, and I feel like this is potentially like the same. So I'm looking forward to going back and rewatching it. So I guess I'd smash it.
Amazing. Great. So it's good to hear the positivity. It really is. So now, as always, Smash, we're going to come to you. Would you say smash or pass for Scooby-Doo, Where Are You Now?
Well, I didn't want it to have to come to this.
Notice how I got like Rihanna in first, just for the positivity, the bit of relief between our reviews.
Okay, when I first heard about this, I was excited. I had good intentions with it. You know, I thought, this is exciting. And then, well, it was announced, and then we didn't hear any for months. And it was like, did they forget about it? Did it get delayed? What happened with it? Oh, well, I guess we'll see. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh, guess what? It's coming out in a week. And we were like, oh, okay. But also they were like, it's going to go on the CW. And I think that's where it kind of took a lot of people by surprise because we were like, oh, the CW. I mean, yeah, they did Scooby Natural on this, but like, so that to me instantly told me, okay, this reunion special is not meant for kids if they're gonna put it on the CW, because the CW is like Riverdale and Supernatural and The Flash or something, more like teen shows. And they did say, afterwards they were going to do a presentation on Network. I was like, if you're either there's things in it that's not going to be meant for kids to see, or they were trying to get a wider audience putting on the CW. But I feel like just randomly have Scooby on the CW when you never do is just going to throw everybody off, even your regular CW viewers. But anyway, so I watched it, I think the night after it technically came out, because again, I was on a little trip when it came out, and I gotten the COVID shot that week too, and was bedbound while I was on vacation. So, that was all great and dandy. But when I did watch it, I was excited. I was like, I was interested. I will say I do have some insights to Scooby, and so I knew some stuff beforehand that kind of made me go like, I'm not as excited anymore for this. But I was like, I'm still Scooby Doo. I'm gonna watch it either way. It doesn't matter. And I'm gonna hope for the best because I don't hate the Daphne and Velma movie. I want to act like that, and in any multi-universe ever, and so I went into it thinking, okay, let's just see what it is and just try to have fun with it. I will say, I laughed so much throughout it. I had a good time watching it. It's just one of those things where I don't think, unless, like my friends that I live with, because I pull them into my Scooby shenanigans. I'm like, you asked me to move in with you, then you get me in Scooby Doo. Sorry. You should see my room. They literally were like, do you have any other movies besides Scooby Doo? And I was like, yes. And so I literally had my friend shelf other movies because I already Scooby shelf built with all my movies. Anyway, so if they were like, hey, we want the reunion special, I don't think they would watch it by themselves. But if they were like, we want to watch it, let's watch it, I'd watch it with them, but I would prepare them ahead of time and be like, okay, this isn't Scooby Doo. It's Scooby Doo, but it's not Scooby Doo. It's almost like a parody of Scooby Doo in a way. Kind of like the first live action Scooby movie sort of was. And but so it's one of those things where, there's some that we've done like Monster of Mexico and the Kiss movie that I wasn't a part of. But where I'm like, I will never put that movie in for myself. The only way I'm going to watch that movie or this special is if someone else was like, hey, I want to watch this. We should watch it. Then I'd be like, okay, cool. Yeah, let's watch it. But otherwise, no, I'm not spending my alone time watching this special again or, those certain movies or whatever. And, they're like this. I wouldn't say it's bad. It just could have been better, and unfortunately, as great as there are, some awesome moments in this, for me personally isn't able to outweigh the absurdity that this thing is. Like, I literally had to pause this for like 20 minutes at one point when Captain Caveman came in and Daphne was like, I like them hairy or whatever.
Oh my god.
I couldn't. I paused it, got up, and my friends are like, are you okay? And I'm like, I can't with this special. They're drawing my line and they're getting there. And I went to the bathroom and just like cradle myself in the bathroom. What happened to Daphne? What happened to her? Okay, not literally. I did go to the bathroom, but I wasn't sitting there. I was just like, I can't do this. I was like, I don't know what this is. But to be fair, though, I feel like just that specific moment, I felt like was more of a Grey Griffin moment than a Daphne moment. I kind of feel like that was something Grey kind of ad-libbed in a way, and they were like, funny, let's keep it. But anyway, yeah, so overall, this is fun, you know. I think you can have a good time with it, you know, whether for nostalgia or just for laughs. But, you know, like all the behind the scenes stuff and whatever that they talk about, I can look up on the internet. Like, I didn't learn anything in this special that I didn't already know. I didn't really, and the fact that like Frank didn't retire within this was kind of like, okay, which I mean, yay, but you know, didn't get anything of that either. You know, there was no him, and it just, I personally just wish that if y'all aren't going to contact these other actors and stuff that have been in Scooby projects, that you would have brought back some legacy characters from within the franchise that we haven't seen for 30, 40 years at least. So there's my long tangent that nobody probably even cares about. But, you know, I went on it anyway to say, I'm sorry, I have to pass this one. I will not be watching this again unless someone says, let's watch it.
Okay, so thank you so much for that. Now, we did say the last little thing we're going to do is just talk about maybe what we would have done if we were the ones making the special. So I guess I maybe start.
Yeah,
I guess I've got some ideas.
Want to go last purely for the fact that I've got two, and so I don't want to be a greedy boy and steal like someone else's concept. So I think if I can go last, I'll be greatly appreciative of Millie, the producer of Smash or Pass podcast executive. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'll start. For me personally, I wouldn't have bothered with I find it uncomfortable story arc where it's like, oh, let's get them all sat on a sofa and Velma's talking to her agent and there's a monster. I'd have got rid of that entirely. I think what I'd have done is I'd have had the introductions they did at the end, at the beginning, like, you know, hey, I'm Frank Welker, voice of Fred, hi, I'm like, and like get them all to introduce themselves a little bit and what they do. That was fine. I enjoyed that bit. But I'd kind of have that more at the start. Include some of the history, like we were saying about silhouettes, art styles, and that kind of thing. And keep the interviews dropping in, like the Seth Green thing I did like, but I just wanted it from more people. So maybe like a 10-15 minute bits of information, brief little interviews from cast. And then what I'd want to do is make it more groundbreaking, stuff that we didn't know before, stuff we've not seen before. So say for example when we did the what's it called, the treasure map one,
The mystery map,
that's it. That was because they were wanting to do a puppetry art style, I think Smash was talking about. So to release some footage that they'd trialed for doing the art style or show us the puppets, then move on to a different movie, so say the live action ones, drop in a few deleted scenes, have an interview with, say, Sarah Michelle Gellar if she was in that deleted scene, and about what it was like, or some behind the scenes kind of stuff. Like, it was a known fact, I believe, that she found the boots uncomfortable, so she was often running around in trainers. So, like, it could just be backstage where, like, you know, they're kind of grumbling about that or something, but just something a bit more exclusive, a bit more interesting. Like Smash said, he didn't learn anything new. I wanted it to have some new content. So for me, I think that would have been like getting some old back footage of either episodes they couldn't release because the art style didn't work out, or they cancelled the series because it wasn't working, deleted scenes because the episodes were too long, or like for the movie, like the live action movies, deleted scenes, behind the scenes. That kind of thing is a lot of what I would like to have seen. So I think that's kind of my ideal. Rihanna, if we ask you next, what do you think you'd have liked to have included or done differently?
I probably would have gotten rid of the storyline with the whole snow ghost that can be put in a closet in a box and forgotten about until you move somewhere, and then we just leave it behind for other people to deal with. But I think I don't know. I've kind of got like two different ideas. So one, if they really, really, for some strange reason, wanted to do a storyline themed reunion, I think it would have been better if it was something similar to Scooby Natural. Maybe they had like Jensen Ackles, Jared Padalecki, and Misha Collins in there interviewing, the voice actors. Then they get sucked in TV, meet like the cartoon, something like that, like where then it's like the live action and the voice artists interacting with Scooby and the gang.
Almost
and
like the
getting to know
cyber
the
chase where they
information.
get to meet themselves.
Yeah, something like that. And they talk about, their experiences. Like they could have had Kate Melton or Nick Pilates. They could have had anyone. And it could be like, oh, in my universe, someone like the multiverse, where it's like, oh, in my universe, I didn't wear anything like that. That's not how we met. Because I feel like in each one, in each like series, there's kind of different there's small changes in how the gang met, and it could have been done really well. And I feel like also if potentially instead of having like all the ghosts, we have the characters all interacting with each other. We have the actual voice artists in person, and little clips and deleted scenes, bloopers. They could even like speak to the individual actors and everything. It'd be like, oh, what's one of your favorite memories of on set? Do you have a blooper that comes to mind? It's like a flashback scene of them in the studio recording, or them on set where, I know Kate Melton, she spoke a lot about how she really struggled to hit the tennis ball. Things like that. And it would be interesting because it's then multiple views of the same characters, like views on things, if that makes sense. But I feel like storyline wise, it could have been better if they did something Scooby Natural, and also it would make the whole multimedia thing flow a bit more, and just get more of the like guest stars, people who had starred in the movies, starred in episodes, who worked on it, not just the producers or directors. See some of the people, even like the current animators. I know in Scooby Natural they spoke to the people who animated and did all of that. Have them talking through and possibly show on a small screen in the corner, if they did go like Scooby Natural way, where they're drawing each character as like a speed art for each scene. I feel like that would have flown so much better, and that's, I think, is what I would do, is turn it from being in person to, it could even be like the actors bump into each other, and Kate and Sarah Michelle Gellar are like, who are you? Like, I played Daphne. No, I played Daphne. And then, small argument happens, and then they meet Daphne, and it's like, wait, there's like three of us now,
I really like those ideas, and especially
That
like I
would be the
said, I'm just
best.
getting cyber
Wow.
chase vibes where like they have to like work together, like you say, and the different styles meeting each other. It'd be really fun. I love that, and I would much have preferred to have watched the one that you've just said. So Smash, what would your ideal have been?
I think I've said it multiple times. I literally was just like, reunion. Bring me these legacy characters of Scooby-Doo. I didn't need the story with the snow ghost thing. I think they still could have had a story. I'm not really sure what I would have wanted, I mean, in a way, I still would have been fine with them just kind of sitting on a couch and talking type of thing. But they could have even done something like Scooby-Doo's, or Happy Birthday Scooby-Doo from the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries, where it's like, either a member of the gang or all to this like TV show where it's like, oh, it's all about you, the history of you or whatever, and then as they're talking about it and whatever, different people and characters show up and they're like, do you recognize this person? It's Vincent Van Gogh. Remember he blah 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 blah. So I don't know. I feel like that would have been a route to do some sort of, they get on a TV show that reviews their life or something. I don't know. I just really thought that this was going to be the chance that we finally like get Scooby Doo back, and maybe this one was doubtful, and they proved to still doubt me to just disrespect our scrappy man. It's fine if you don't like him, but can we just stop with the hate with him? You can say, oh, I don't like him, but like Warner Brothers is just like taking that dislike of the character from people and trying to shove it in any media possible, and I'm done. I'm like, you could have like redeemed him here. You had a chance to. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I would have just wanted. If everything else was the same, but they brought in characters throughout the Scooby franchise, I think I would have been a little more okay with it. But yeah, that's my biggest thing, is I was just excited that there might have been some characters that we haven't seen in decades come back finally, but alas, we did not.
Again, that's something that I personally would have much preferred to have seen. And JayBee, what was your ideal?
I guess I've got two. One is a bit on the hokey side, and it kind of goes into like a storyline narrative. But I would have loved to have had some type of a sequence where maybe they could have recreated the opening of Monsters Unleashed, except they could animate it, so they could do what they wanted to do. They could have maybe a live action Mystery Machine. They could still have that kind of mixed media type of vibe, except bring Seth Green back as the character of Patrick and say it's the grand opening of a new exhibit in the Coulsonian Criminology Museum. And from there, you could have them as kind of like the compare or the host, taking you through not necessarily a timeline, because I think that would either one take too long, or there'd be aspects of it that are largely uninteresting. But I think take them through landmarks of the series, so the story of how the show was created. They could have a section dedicated to the kind of Mook animation films, where he could simply just walk up to a glass and there's maybe like, I guess, the VH, like the kind of tapes from that era, and then you could go into interviews with people like Billy West, Scott Innes, Frank Welker, and do something like that, and maybe even showcase some of the props from the live action movies there as well. I think that would be absolutely amazing. Again, that could very easily get cringy, but I think that it would be a nice way of almost showing, we're going to show you a kind of best of reel with behind the scenes aspects, but also make it into a storyline that people are familiar with. It would also be kind of great to see like kind of Seth Green back again in that character. I think that would be a lot of fun. The next thing that I kind of came up with, I'm not sure if I've got any if there's any Doctor Who fans on like the kind of show today, or if they're in the premiere or listening to this, but for the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, they produced this special called An Adventure in Space and Time. And what they did with that is they got, obviously, the first Doctor, William Hartnell, passed away, unfortunately. But they cast David Bradley, who plays, is it Filch in
Argus Filch.
Argus Filch in Harry Potter and some other things. They cast them as William Hartnell. They cast a load of people to be the producers at the BBC and all that, to go through the story about that kind of actor going through the motions, going from kind of someone that was at one stage of life to the end where unfortunately they had to retire due to several reasons. And I just feel like kind of an emotional story about that would have been amazing. Now, obviously I don't think anyone can replace Casey Kasem in themselves, but maybe an angle that they could have had is go through Casey Kasem's story and their roles, and you could end that special with them passing on the torch to Matthew Lillard and they could have like a moment where it's like, oh, I wonder if Scooby will kind of live on past this, and then you get that time jump of, okay, it's still relevant now, it's still going to be relevant in 50 more years.
Or even like Lillard at the first premiere or something.
Yeah, something like that I think would be amazing, because obviously people know the story if they kind of YouTube it, but to actually see it unfold in terms of like a biopic, I think would have been amazing in and of itself.
See, I really like both of those ideas. I'm quite I want to say I'm quite an emotional person, so I think the second one that you said would be particularly emotional, which is something that I do enjoy.
Like, if people can't find that Adventure in Space and Time DVD or online, I would urge you to watch it, even if you're not a Doctor Who fan, as just an idea of how you can honour a special whilst also making it new as well, because I think that's a perfect example. I'm
not a huge Doctor Who fan, but even I like cried watching it. It was, the emotion there was very intense. And I also like the first idea you said. You could have almost like done certain like reunion points, so you could have like flown all the live action cast out to like Spooky Island again and done an interview there.
One day we are going to Spooky Island. We're going to do Smash or Pass on location.
You could have had Seth Green and the tattooed fans and everything outside the museum from the second Scooby Doo movie. You could have done so much if you tried. Like, they could have done so much if they tried, and it would have been really good. But yeah, I think, you know, it's fair to say that we've done our verdict for this one.
So, a bit of a brief thing, and again, I apologise, this has run on a bit longer. This is a Christmas special at the end of the day, so kind of quick fire round. I'll start with myself. What is this main Scooby item on everyone's Christmas list this year? And I'm going to kick off with Daphne Barbie doll. And I know that takes away all my masculine points, but I don't care. Daphne Barbie doll.
Smash, you next?
Okay, I probably won't get it for Christmas, but I actually saw this really cool, like, vintage kind of figure statue thing of Scooby, where Scooby like has a flashlight and he is opening a door, and he's like looking with the flashlight, and you can plug that in, and I saw somebody got it on like a Facebook marketplace or whatever, and I was like, I want that. That needs to be in my room. I don't know where or how they got it. I need it.
Sounds like an amazing item, and also an expensive little eBay search for JayBee, because he'll probably want that too.
Oh no.
Rihanna, what about you? What would your ideal Scooby item be for Christmas?
Oh gosh. My issue is I'm trying to think of everything that I do have that's Scooby and what I don't have. I think, there was this one, I'll possibly send in the chat a picture of it. There on Facebook, I saw this person who it's a Scooby and Shaggy, like where Shaggy's holding Scooby, I think, and it's a telephone. And it's like one of those old ones, and I'm like, I need that. I need it. Like, I would give my arm and a leg and a kidney for it.
It does sound absolutely amazing. It really does.
Oh my gosh, it is gorgeous as well. Like, I think a few collectors that are in the kind of Scooby space have featured it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, let's do that one day. Absolutely.
See, I'm lucky enough to be staring at mine now because JayBee did order it for me.
Oh no.
In terms of our Funko Pop collection, we were only missing the Velma Funko. And so I just wanted that to complete the collection, and it's sat on the desk looking at me now.
Yay.
So I got my Christmas wish. I'm quite lucky. So yeah, I'm happy.
Nice.
Okay, so I think that does it for this episode. So happy holidays to everybody. Merry Christmas.
Hey, happy holidays.
I think this is a really good time as well.
Merry Christmas.
It's a good time as well, just to say, as we're approaching the end of the year, thank you so much to Smash and Rihanna for all your help, all the time that you've given to Smash or Pass, and things on this channel this year. We really appreciate your time, and it's just been so incredible to get to speak to you. So we hope you both have an amazing day as well, and also to everybody listening, we hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much for your time listening to the videos, liking the comments and everything. So yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. Smash or Pass will continue to be released this time again next week. Well, this is a Christmas special, so it may have been released slightly earlier in the day.
There's going to be 2 videos hopefully today. I think I should probably make this the last one because it's when people are going to be all snug by a fire, probably rolling around in new toys and whatever people that aren't me do on Christmas Day.
But yeah, Smash or Pass will be back next week. So yeah, look out for that. So please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to JayBee and Millie. Of course, go and check out Smash's channel as well. And Rihanna, thank you so much for your time as well.